Stone Vet. I hit the ground running when I'm invading your country. Instill with honor and discipline. Throw my guns like onions.
What's up, guys? Sergeant G here from the STONED VET USMC. Super excited to be here with you guys, bringing on another great advocate in the crazy mindfulness of the STONED VET USMC, man. Like I tell you guys, because of you guys see it. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you guys can see the beautiful gold warhammer and the beautiful, what's that at? The picture over here on my opposite side, the winner, right? Winner of the Top Marine Corps podcast. I only won that because of you guys that are listening in and watching my show on a weekly basis, man. I really appreciate you guys voting for me, allowing me to be the winner of the #1 Marine Corps podcast in the entire world. Like I said, every week I couldn't have done it without you. Podcast awards are coming back up October 5th. When it gets closer to voting time, that's when I'll make the big push for you guys to get out there and vote for me, the #1 Marine Corps podcast, so I can bring this award home, man. Because why else would you want somebody else to have this award when you got the Stone Vet talking to you guys on a weekly basis, right? I'm super excited, man. Huge shout out to my sponsor, Rafa 180. Rafa 180 provides you the best medicinal grade CBD on the market, hands down. Like I tell you guys on every episode, you suffer from anxiety, you suffer from depression, you suffer from aches and pains, migraines, all kinds of different things that we deal with on a regular basis being a vet, right? Go check out Rafa 180. They got the best medicinal grade CBD coming from the only FDA regulated lab in the Midwest, dude. Hands down the best on the market. If you spend $85 or more, you get priority shipping, dude. That means front door shipping. They'll leave it on your front porch for you. And you get it within 2 to 3 days, which is not bad, dude. I think the longest I've seen it go out was 3 days, and that was like to Maine, Washington, wherever, farthest part you can get from us in Oklahoma, which is not bad. 3-day shipping is not bad. It's like Amazon shipping almost, you know? And so go check out rafa180.com, and when you check out with the Stone Vet USMC, get 15% off your entire purchase, dude, which is amazing. That's a good discount. That's a pretty deep discount, man, especially when you're trying to use plant medicine and you're trying to figure it out and you're not sure how to start or where to begin. If you got questions, like I said, go to the website. That's Romeo Alpha Papa Hotel Alpha 180.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page. There's a phone number down there. That's a direct line to the owner. Give them a call. They will definitely pick up the phone and talk to you and help walk you along your journey to make sure that you get on the proper dosing on CBD. Because a lot of people who have tried CBD, oh, that crap don't work. Oh, it don't work. Were you taking too much? Were you taking too little? Were you not taking enough? CBD is like any other pharmaceutical you take, right? When a doctor prescribes you a pharmaceutical, what's he tell you? Come back in 2 weeks and let me know how it's making you feel. Same thing with CBD. Try it for a little bit. Do you need more CBD or do you need some CBG? What do we need to do to make sure that you get on the right dosage, man? But go check out rafa180.com and I'm telling you, dude, it's an amazing product and it helps with so many different things on a daily basis, man. Like I tell you guys, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button, man. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, dude. I need more subscribers. How you think I'm going to beat Joe Rogan? How you think I'm going to beat Mr. Beast on YouTube? How you think I'm going to beat all these people on YouTube? I can't do it unless you guys hit that subscribe button and share the content, man. So go over there, hit that like, subscribe, and share button, man. I'm super excited this week, man. So like I tell you, if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't be able to meet the amazing brothers and sisters I've been able to meet over also almost, it's like a year and a half, 2 years going on since doing the show. You guys know I'm already like 140 episodes in, 140 plus episodes in, right? Like I'm doing content 4 days a week right now, right? But my episodes, when I get to bring on a guest, is my favorite because, like I tell you guys, this is my counseling session, right? We deal with crap every day, right? Especially when we got out of service, we're trying to figure out how do I live a normal life, man? Like, how do I do this? I don't have Sergeant G telling me what to do anymore, right? You do 4 years, you do 40 years. Somebody's telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it every single day. You need to be here. You need to do this. We need to do that. The uniform of the day. You got Charlie's inspections, Alpha inspections, Delta inspections. We got IG coming through, and we got to make sure that our gear looks straight and squared away and stuff. So somebody's telling you what to do every day, but then when you get out of service, it's like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like, I got out. Some of us move back home, go back to the state that we grew up in, and we move back home, or we move somewhere completely different because we want to start a brand new life. And the biggest struggle that I feel that we have is that we don't have a brother to our left or to our right, right? There's nobody here that we can bounce ideas off of and do things, right? But this is what I tell you guys, that you have to grow your community, because I don't know where you're at. Wherever you live, I don't know your community. Here in Oklahoma, my community's massive. I know a ton of people in my area that if I need something, I can reach out to them and say, hey, I need a question. I got this. I need this. Hey, can you know somebody that can do this? You got somebody that can do that, you know? And like I said, I got the wonderful opportunity of bringing in Big Spoon. What's going on, Devil? How you doing?
No, if I was any better, I'd be twins, baby.
That's awesome. So Big Spoon here is another jarhead, man. If you can tell, look at him. He's the hippie in the jarhead community, dude. I'm telling you what, he's got the big beard, the long hair, and the dude's just chill. Like, dude, I'm good, man, right? And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about his journey, but one of the biggest things that you guys understand that this year is that I'm bringing on a lot of advocates for plant medicine, people who have found plant medicine help them heal them spiritually. Because like I said, when you go through boot camp, if you're not filing for PTSD on your VA claims, you're failing yourselves. Because honestly, when you went to boot camp, you were so-and-so. You were Joe, Sarah, Maggie, Dave. You were whoever. But after you go through boot camp, guess what? You're no longer who they were. You are now Department of Defense. You are what they want you to be, because how else are you going to fight a war if you are who you were before you joined? You know? And so, and this is one thing me and Big Spoon were talking about earlier, was that the Marine Corps makes us to be badasses, right? We're the best for a reason, right? And in boot camp, boy, we go through hell and back. But that's one of the things that I tell people on my episodes that you guys watch, is that the Marine Corps cuts that emotional tie to anything. They tell you, if you're emotional, you're gonna die. You're gonna kill your battle buddy if you become an emotional mess, right? And Chris here, he'll tell you, right, Big Spoon.
Yeah, and I was probably the most emotional person you would meet. I mean, I was an emotional, I don't want to say an emotional mess, but I was an emotional kid growing up. My PTSD, like I think most, is if we really start digging into it, I think we find that most trauma that veterans have actually came before they ever stepped on a set of yellow
No,
footprints.
absolutely.
Most of that trauma can be tied back to something that happened in childhood, and most, just like most not civilians as well, right? It doesn't make us any different. But mine was, experiencing death early on. I had a brother that passed away due to suicide when we were kids. And so I carried that with me, and still carry it to this day. So my trauma began very early on, and I carried it with me to boot camp. But I agree with you. I mean, I think there's so many traumas in that, and just not being able to express anything that you feel inside. Think about what you're saying when you say hold your bearing. I mean,
Right.
just stop and think about that, and think about that as somebody who's now trying to be, more an air quote enlightened, or whatever that is, to be able
Right.
to try to hold that and not show any emotion or let any of that out is just, oh, I can't even imagine what toll it takes on our bodies, just
Right.
holding all that energy within yourself all the time.
No, absolutely, brother. I think that's one of the biggest struggles that we have as veterans. You guys that are watching the show, you guys know. You guys know that we are emotionally we're in emotional distress, honestly. Like for us is that my wife I was talking to my wife the other day, right? So and a lot of people know there's a lot of things going on in our relationship right now. But one of the biggest things is like, do you not know anybody who hasn't been divorced? And I'm like, huh, that's a good question. Let me think about that. And I can name like maybe two, maybe three people. But I mean, a majority of us veterans, dude, some of us have done it two, three, four, five different times, dude. And it's like, yeah, Big Spoons right there. He said, I've done it twice, you know? And that's one of the biggest things is that boot camp screwed us up. Our military screwed us up, right? The military screwed us up so much that whenever we got out of service, you're right now, this is the era of the OIF, OEF Marines, right? That's the biggest era right now. So the majority of the people who are out of service have been to Iraq and Afghanistan and have seen things and have done things that no other human being has ever done or will ever experience in their entire lifetime. And during that time, we understand that the emotions that we have, we were so high strung. Like we always think the next big thing, the next big thing, the next big thing. Our adrenaline's always rushing because that's what we were doing for years, right? You got people who deployed 8, 10, 12 times, seen combat every single time they went. And one of the biggest struggles we have is that we don't know how to keep relationships, right? Not only is it just with our spouses or our boyfriends or girlfriends, but our friends overall. We don't know how to pursue in keeping a relationship, a good, healthy relationship with our own friends. And that's a struggle. Like, I mean, I bet a majority of the people who are watching the show know that struggle. They're like, dude, I don't even call my friends anymore. I don't even call the people I hang out with, or I don't even, because what, we have life, right? We all have our own lives. We have kids, we have jobs, we have this, we have that. But when you're sitting on the crapper playing through Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can message your brother and say, hey, dude, I was thinking about you today. I want to make sure you're doing okay. Because it is a struggle. And I don't know about you, Big Spoon, but I mean, for me, it's a big struggle for me because I'm trying to find myself right now. I'm in that journey right now where I'm trying to find myself.
I mean, I've been lucky that I have a group of guys.
Man, he froze up.
So, you know,
He froze up, brother.
it's aired
Hold up, you froze up.
about, there you go.
Let's see.
My back.
You're kind of back. It's coming. It's trying to.
Hmm. Let me check connection real quick.
All right.
Yeah, it should be good. Hmm.
It's coming through.
All
I can
right.
hear you now. I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
You said
Okay.
you got a group of men that you.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate that I've got a group of men that are all vets, that are kind of all on a journey, different places on their journey, but are very open. We can have open discussions. I have a best friend that we talk almost nightly. We call it the garage sessions. We go out to the garage and put each other on speakerphone, smoke a joint, or he takes his in a concentrate. And, and just, dude, and just have an honest conversation about the day and about what's going on and about, what triggered him, what
No,
triggered me,
absolutely, absolutely. And
um,
that's a big struggle that I think we have as veterans. But why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, about your journey through our beloved Corps? Like, how did you get? How long were you in the Marine Corps? How did you get in the Marine Corps? How was your journey and stuff like that while serving this country?
yeah. So mine's a little different. Just because of where I was raised and where I grew up very middle class. Um, my parents were divorced, and so I grew up an '80s kid. I'm a little older, and so we grew up in a very middle class neighborhood, but didn't have a lot of money because just because my mom was a single mom, single
Right,
working mom, and they didn't make a lot of money back then, and
right.
still don't make a lot of money. And I grew up. I didn't always have the best like my friends, but I didn't go without, and ended up moving in with my dad, who lived in Plano, just north of Dallas, and that's where I finished high school. And I wasn't a good student. I didn't make good grades. I didn't apply myself. I didn't really care. Um, I just kind of went through life. I recreationally used drugs more so when I lived in Houston than I did in Dallas, but I used hallucinogenics. LSD was kind of popular then, in the circle I ran around in. And so I tried it some. Obviously, the Marine Corps never knew about that. Uh, but a one time experimental. Um, and so, it got to the point where it was like, okay, what are you going to do? And at the time, it was you can either go to college. I knew I'd flunk out. I knew
Right.
I'd just go and party and drink and do whatever. I was honest enough with myself to know that.
Right.
I could go get a job, and I knew that was $9 an hour. And my dad loved to tell me that I had champagne taste on a beer budget, which I probably still do. But it's true. So I knew I wasn't going to live on $9 an hour. Like I just
Right,
knew.
because who can? Who really can?
Yeah. I mean, I just knew that wasn't the life for me. And so then the final choice was the military. And, I was raised in a military family, grandfather, my dad was Navy. And, like any good son, I mean, I got to outdo my dad. So if my dad was in the Navy, fuck it, I got to go in the Marine Corps, right? It's like,
right.
plus those uniforms, let's be honest. I mean, there ain't nobody got.
Can't nobody beat those, right? Absolutely.
No. And dude, let's be honest, I know people won't admit it, but I was the Buddhist boot you ever met, bro. Like, I mean, I joined, I remember my dad, and this is probably a lot of my stuff where it comes from. I'll never forget telling my dad, and he was watching the Rangers. So it must have been springtime, summertime.
Right.
And senior year of high school, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to the Marine Corps." He's like, "Man," he's like, "I don't know that you'll make it." He's like, "Man, they break you down." And he's like, and now maybe he was doing it just to get, maybe he was using some great psychology on me, and I just don't remember it. But
right.
Yeah, and so I just remember thinking, man, and I mean that did drive me a lot of the way. A lot of those nights laying in that rack in San Diego, thinking there ain't no way I'm going home and telling that dude I didn't make it. No way.
Right.
No
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
So my, because I think what I found later on is, a lot of the guys that went in that I befriended, they didn't have the opportunities that I had. There weren't three choices. They didn't have a choice of college like I did and just said,
Right.
I'm not ready for that.
Right.
That they're really their only choice was, I even met a guy, and I think it was becoming unpopular at the time, but his choice was jail or the Marine Corps, and he chose the Marine Corps.
Right.
So, and I think I look at some of those things now, and a lot of that comes up when you start talking about privilege and white privilege. And I know that's not something people like to talk about that, but coming in from middle class is different than coming in from a lower income,
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And even the fact that I had a neighborhood swimming pool, the fact that there were kids in boot camp that were like, I don't know how to swim. And I'm like, how can you not know how to swim? And they're like, I've never even swam a swimming pool, dude. I'm like,
right.
What do you mean? We have two of them in the neighborhood. Like, you don't have one? And I mean, I wasn't, by no means was I, yeah, right. By no means was I like, trust me, I definitely went without. When I cleaned out my mom's house when she passed away, I saw what she made a year. It wasn't pretty. So, but I mean, even just those little things, right? And being in a different, maybe not being wealthy, but just being in a different environment pays huge dividends.
No, absolutely.
But
yeah, that's the biggest thing with boot camp. Like in boot camp, you guys know, they got watching the show. You guys know it's a different walk, dude. Like you're meeting all walks of life in boot camp, dude. You're meeting people, rednecks. You're meeting people in the ghettos. You're meeting people all from every walk of life from other countries, joining the best military in the entire world. And like Chris is saying, he's like, I grew up middle class, dude. Like I had choices, like, but I chose to join the Marine Corps. Unlike me, I was like, it's a Marine Corps or nothing. Like, it was, my dad was Army, my uncle was Army, my other uncle was Air Force, and I was like, Marine Corps recruiter's the only one that knocked on my door and said, "You want to join the Marine Corps?" I was adamant saying no, and then I met my wife, and I was like, we got to get out of here. Like, we got to get out of this freaking place where we're at, because if I don't go to boot camp, if I don't do the Marine Corps, we're going to be stuck here like everybody else doing the same thing everybody else is doing. We got to get out,
Right.
And so, but like you're saying, I mean, you were like, what do you mean? You never swam before? Like, Marine Corps going to teach you how to swim.
Yeah. So it was a trip, but I went into late entry. So I went in, I graduated in June, like most. Let me back up. I was supposed to graduate in June. Turned out I was one credit short, a science credit. So, dude, I didn't even get to walk with my graduating class. And I mean, this is such a story. It's like the story of my whole life, dude. And so I had to take back then we didn't have this. You could just go on, take an online class and pound it out on the internet.
What the hell?
Dude, I had Yeah, I had to send away to Texas Tech in Lubbock. I had to send away, and they sent me like a form, and you had to like cut it open and take the class and then take the test, and so. But I ended up going. I'm sure I gave my recruiter so much stress,
Right.
and yeah, so I ended up. But so my buddy went in right out of boot camp, or I mean, right out of graduation from high school because he was a 0311,
Oh
and
man.
he he came home and he was like, dude, no matter what you do, don't go ground side. You got to go air side. Like, just trust me on this. Like, and I don't even know how he had figured that out already, right? Because usually you don't figure that out till you get a little bit further along
Right,
in your
right, right.
journey. So somebody must have wisened him up in somewhere. And so luckily, I was aviation ordnance, but
Oh,
like
okay.
if this isn't, and nobody appreciates the story like Marines do, right? So I'm aviation ordnance, which is loading
Bombs on
bombs.
planes.
Yeah, bombs on planes, um, or weapon systems on planes or whatever. Sounds
Right,
super romantic. And
right.
the thing you have to put in context too to these young bucks out there. Literally, we picked our MOS off of a poster that was hanging in the recruiter's wall that had 3-line description of what you were going to be doing for the next 4 years. There was no Googling what's a 6531 do.
Right.
What is I couldn't get on a message board and be like, hey, thinking
Hey, what
about
is
joining
this?
the Marine Corps. Yeah, literally, you put your job off of 2 lines that they described, and then you figured out that 90% of the descriptions were just the same thing, just rewritten in
Reword.
different ways. Yeah, you knew some Lance Corporal somewhere had written all those things out and just regurgitated them over and over again.
Right. Absolutely.
Ah,
Absolutely.
so anyway, so I'm aviation ordnance. So I'm thinking I'm going to be working with bombs, and this is going to be badass. Because originally
Right.
I wanted to be NBC, nuclear,
Oh
biological, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
chemical,
yeah.
which would have been good, but kind of not, based on everything that ended up happening with that. But they wanted to move they wanted to move my date up, and so there wasn't a billet, and so they moved me over to aviation ordnance. So my recruiter's like, it's kind of the same thing. Uh, you know, it's similar, because dude, he was he was like a radio operator in freaking Yuma. What does that dude know, right? He probably doesn't even know what the air wing is. He just thinks we're all like, he thinks the Air Force or whatever. And
Right.
so, anyways, so I go through boot camp, and I'm an average Marine. Okay, so no, I'm not. First of all, I'm a diet recruit because I'm overweight, right? Like when I go to, which is a big. If I'd have known now, I would have definitely not done that. Having those, I never heard them described, but somebody along later in life called them warrant. They called them warrant officers on the East Coast because they had the red stripes on the sweatshirts on those grays.
Oh
Which that's a cool. That's a way better name than diet recruit. But so I went in overweight, and so I got just trashed on the quarter deck in the pit
all the
constantly.
time.
So obviously, I came out skinny. I mean, I lost a ton of weight, and went home for boot leave. Uh, I was uh, I was in a relationship at the time. Dude, this is the most Lance Corporal PFC thing ever. So I had broken up with my high school girlfriend at the time, but we got to get back together in boot camp. And then we got engaged while I was on boot leave. Like, if that doesn't sound like a recipe for
It's a recipe
disaster.
for
Um,
disaster.
yeah. I will tell you though, like, just my story's different. She's now uber successful, like super high up in her company, and
Yeah.
kills it. Absolutely kills it. Yeah. And we had a couple of amazing kids as well. So it all turned out well. But
There you go.
yeah, it sounds like you were writing the roadmap for how to live the Lance Corporal life. Dude, I even bought the Camaro at 22% interest. I mean, I have lived the stereotypical PFC life. And so anyway, so we end up getting married. So I go back to MCT. It's pretty uneventful, other than my buddy gets me in trouble a couple of times because he's down the street at I think it was at Horno. Uh, he was with 1-9 at the time, and so he's coming up and breaking me out. Oh, they don't care if you go out, dude. It's all good. And he's like a Lance Corporal. He's not even. He's been in like a year and a half. Dude. been in the fleet like a year, maybe, probably not even that long. He's probably been in the fleet like 3 months. And so I end up getting in all
Come on,
kinds
dude.
of
It's cool.
trouble. Yeah. And then I end up, so then he ends up, he's like, well, you can't just go straight to, so my next duty station's Millington, Tennessee, and we don't have a break. And that's where they were, where the Navy was training all the air wing guys. And so we end up going to TJ. We end up staying out too late. I end up missing my flight. I'm convinced I'm going to the brig, dude. Like, I am just convinced I'm going to jail. I end up checking in, nothing happens. And so I go through Millington, nothing eventful. I then go to my my final training is at Camp Pendleton with the Cobras. It's on the Cobras.
Oh, wow.
Because that's where at the time, that's where the Cobras and the Hueys were at, supporting the ground side. And I'm like, frick yeah, dude, that thing's got some badass systems on it.
Right.
Like, this is dope, dude. Like, how badass is this? So when we're in Millington, we get our final duty station, and it says MCAS, which I was so booed I didn't even know what that meant, which is Marine Corps Air Station, Tustin. And I'm like, where's that? Tustin? Where is that? Yeah, exactly. Here's the crazy part. Nobody in Millington knew where it was. Nobody had ever heard of it. And, I mean, there's still quite a few Marines there, trainers and stuff. It's mostly Navy, but there's still a handful. Nobody's heard of it, nothing. So I go, cruising back to the barracks, and I jump on the payphone, after waiting probably an hour for, Lance Corporal Cooley to talk to him. Yeah. No cell phone. I couldn't Google it, dude. Think about that. I couldn't just Google where's Tustin, California.
Right.
Answer. No, it's like a fucking 5-hour ordeal trying to find the answer to this question. And so I finally call my dad, and I'm like, hey, I said, do you know where Tustin, California is? And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, that's my final duty station. And he's like, you've got to be shitting me. And I'm like, why? And he's like, you remember that summer we went to vacation and we went to Huntington Beach? And I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, you're like 20 minutes away from Huntington Beach. And I'll be damned if I wasn't 20 minutes away from Huntington Beach, part of Orange County. But what's crazy is we get there, and I'm newly married at this point, right? Because I got to get married before I get to my final duty station, like any good Lance Corporal does. And so we get there, and I'm looking around, dude, and they have these two huge hangars. Anybody that's listening to this that knows Tustin knows they're known for one thing. These two huge hangars. They're actually supposedly the biggest non-beamed structures in North America. So they're huge. And I'm looking out at the flight line, and I think I'm checking in on Sunday or something. And I'm like, hey, Staff Sergeant, where's the fixed wing at? And he's like, well, they're all at El Toro. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, where's all the where are the Cobras at? Because I still didn't understand. Nobody sat us down and said, this is the way the Marine Corps is structured. Like, I know now how it works. But dude, if you go back and really think about like how stupid and boot you were, like, I didn't even understand how billets work. Like, nobody sat down and said, okay, when this dude gets out of the Marine Corps, we've got to have this guy going through the system to get to the fleet by the time this guy exits. No clue about any of that stuff. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, well, where's the Cobras? And he's like, well, we keep them at Pendleton with the grunts, the ground side. And I'm like,
so what the fuck?
Okay, but I'm like, but these are all 53s and 46s. These are all cargo helicopters. Like, they don't carry any bombs. Like, they don't have any weapons. Right. He's like, well, yeah, they got 50 cals and chaff and flares. I'm like, what's a chaff and a flare? Like, I don't even know what that. Oh my gosh. Actually, I didn't know what it was from Cobras, but yeah, dude. So basically, and so then we get to our, so there's a big exodus of guys coming out. Some of them had gotten busted for drugs. Some of them were just EAS. And so there were a bunch of us that came in at the same time. And so on day one, they're like, asking around, does anybody know how to use a computer? And now this is 1993. So, dude, the Marine Corps had just gotten computers, which is scary to say. But, dude, the internet, I didn't even have the internet at home at this point, right? I didn't have a cell phone, no internet. So, of course, the one kid from middle class is like, from middle class America, is like, yeah, I know how to use a computer. Like, I know how to turn it on. He's like, well, you're my new admin. So then there I was for the next 4 years, stuck in the office with the
Admin.
captain.
So you only did 4 years of active service then, huh?
Yes, because dude, I was so young and dumb. I was so uh, I was so adamant that I had to get out and get back to Texas. I was like, man, I got to be in Texas. I got to live in Texas. Now I'd be like, because of our cannabis laws here, I'd be like, man, I'd give anything to get out of Texas right now. If I
Right.
could
No,
just, and
absolutely.
I'm closer to Oklahoma than I am to downtown Dallas, technically. You know,
Man, Oklahoma's got the best cannabis laws right now in the nation. Apparently, is what
I
everybody's saying
know,
right
I
now. So I mean,
know.
so with your time, I mean, with your journey, I mean, after you got out, of course, we all had struggles, right? Like you said, you're on your second marriage, right? So the first one fell through for whatever reason, right? Because you're probably just a dumbass Marine, and you're like, fuck this.
Hmm.
And so that's one of the biggest struggles. And so, I mean, after you got out, what? Because so that was a long time ago. You got out probably what 95,
96. I got out in
96.
yeah, tail end of 96, right before 97. And
So so you, so for your time, so
yeah,
it's been a while. It's been a while, dude. It's 2022,
oh
man. So it's been
yeah,
a long
yeah,
time.
man.
You've been so you got a whole story. I can imagine your story. I mean, from 96 to today, where you're at, right? But one of the biggest things, like I've been telling my audience lately, is that my biggest thing is the journey now, right? Plant medicine. Why are veterans so adamant about legalization of cannabis? Why are veterans so adamant of legalization of psilocybin and all these other plant medicines? Like, why are we so adamant about it? And you, I mean, when I first met you, I mean, I met you. What was it? Was it last year when I met you at Travis's house?
Yeah,
Right. It's been
yeah,
about a year. And that was one of the biggest things. Like, when my wife met you, she's like, "You're a freaking Marine," and you're like, "Yeah, I'm a Marine." And she was like, "I don't believe it because of your aura, right? Everybody has an
right,
aura, right? Majority of us veterans were usually pissed off at the world and everything around us, right? And you, my friend, you're one of those happy guys. You're the happy-go-lucky, like
right.
everything's going good for you, right? Like, I'm doing good. I like where my life is going, right? But people trying to understand and trying to learn about this, what brought you to start leaning towards plant medicine? Like, what in your life did you realize, I need something different, you know?
We would like to give a huge thanks to Rafa 180. Rafa 180 offers pure medicinal CBD and products made locally. They walk alongside individuals to achieve a healthy lifestyle with options needed by each person. You can learn more about them on Facebook at Rafa CBD, their website www.rafa180.com, or email at rafacbd@gmail.com. They truly believe your journey matters.
Um, I mean, I think I mean, I know, and I won't go back through all those years, but I mean, I was slowly killing myself. I got out of the Marine Corps and I said, I'm never going to run again. You're never going to catch me in the gym.
Right.
And I gained weight, as you would expect. At one
Like we
point
all
I was
do.
almost, yeah, at one point I was almost 400 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah. So I know now looking back, I was slowly killing myself. And I don't know how to describe it other than I was just a zombie. And I wasn't on any medications. I wasn't using cannabis. But looking back at it now, I was just walking through life just with blinders on and just
Yeah.
checking boxes. And I lived a life in my head of, I'll be happy when this happens. So I'll be happy when I get this divorce. I'll be happy when I get this new job. Oh man, when we close on the new house and I buy the new house, I'll be happy then. And so my whole life was based on I'll be happy if, or I'll be happy when. And so I wasn't living in the moment. Um, and so I just started thinking through like what's going on? What am I experiencing? And
Right. And
unfortunately,
a lot of people deal with that, right? A lot of people, you guys watching the show, you guys, I guarantee a lot of you are like that. Like, I'd be happier if I got the new job. I mean, that's one thing I'm dealing with. I just got told that I didn't get a position because they wanted somebody with. So there were 6 of us interviewing, and they didn't pick anybody. They said we're just going to re-advertise it because we want somebody with more experience in our field. Not like, so you interviewed me, you had me reach out to my references and take time out of their day to write a reference for me for this position, and you're going a different way. I was like, wait. And it's frustrating, right? Because I've been sitting here, I've been trying to get promoted, trying to do what I do because I do some amazing things. But I mean, like you're saying though, like I'll be happier when this happens. I'll be happier when this happens. I'll be happier when this happens. And that's a struggle that I guarantee you a majority of the people who are watching the show have been there, have been like, fuck, that's me. I'm like that.
Right.
I'd be happier if this happens. I'll be happy if I got this new car, or if I got this new house, or I got this new girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, right? And that's what's one of the struggles that we deal with on a regular. And that's not just veterans. That's anybody in general. I mean, people are like that, right?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, if I look back and now that I can look back at certain points in time and, what I was doing career wise or, what I was making. And if you'd have told me, hey, you're going to own your own business, at some point, and you're going to be doing this and doing that, I'd have been like, what? Like, how do I get there?
Right.
And it just happened. I just let it happen, but I had really gotten to where I didn't express emotion. Like I couldn't cry. I couldn't, if I was upset, it was anger. That was the only thing I was able to express to my kids, to my partner, to colleagues. I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to kind of talk through that stuff and get in, and I hate using the term, but get in touch with that stuff and being okay with it is really
Right.
what it's about. It's just being okay with it. But
No,
really
absolutely.
getting to where
It's a struggle, right? Because I had Benny. He's another jarhead. He's out of like Connecticut or somewhere back east. Me and him, we had a conversation. That's one of the biggest things that we're like, us as Marines, especially as Marines, right? Let alone a veteran, we don't know how to have emotional conversations. We don't
right,
know how to have emotional conversations with our own brothers. Like you said, you got your own people and you sit in the garage and you talk about what's going on, right? Which is where we all need to be, right? That's
right,
honestly where we all need to
right,
be, because like I said, we struggle. We are in emotional distress. We do not know how to cry. We don't know how to be sad. We know how to be angry when things don't go our way, you know?
right.
And for you, how did you go about enabling that? Like, that's my thing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm bringing people on that say, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm like, but how do you start a journey into that?
So I could tell you, like, where mine, we call it my spiritual awakening. Is kind of what we call it. So, I mean, my journey started. I could trace it back 6, 7 years, whatever. But really, where it started into the plant medicine, other than cannabis, and I believe that cannabis is one of the greatest plant medicines for vets, for specific vets, because there are some people that have an adverse reaction to it that increases
Right?
their
No, they do.
anxiety.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
for a lot of us, I think it just gives us the ability to have deep emotional conversations and be okay with it. You know what I mean? To really be able to be at ease, and kind of be able to express what's going on. But my journey really started probably a year and a half ago or so. And I have a friend named Lane Balone, you met him. He
I
was
met
at
Elaine. I met Lane. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I met him.
yeah. And so he had posted up, we're friends on Facebook. We're in a veteran entrepreneur group together. And he had posted that he had been out with some guys, and he's a plant medicine advocate, that he had been out with some guys and done a ceremony with some vets. So I just reached out to him and I was like, hey, how do I make this happen? Like, if I was interested in this, how do I make this happen? Because it had always kind of intrigued me, and it had just been showing up more and more on my radar.
Right.
I'd seen more and more articles about it, or more and more it was on a podcast I'd be listening to. Somebody, like you said, somebody be talking about it, or, I'd hear somebody else, talking about it in a conversation. So it was showing up constantly. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I felt called to it. And I didn't know what that meant. I don't even know if I knew what that term was, but I just knew that there was a reason that I needed to reach out to him and ask about it. And so I did. And of course, Lane being Lane is like, I think you just did. Let's make it happen.
Right.
And so we flew out. Brian and I flew out from Dallas. We met another veteran and Lane, and had a cabin in Colorado, and sat in ceremony with psilocybin, and just spent the weekend just talking, dude. I mean,
Right.
just having honest conversations about what it's like to be a man, and what it's like to be a dad, and what it's like to be, a husband, what it's like to be a business owner, and all those things that guys just tend to not talk about,
Right.
not at least in anything other than just a superficial level.
Right.
But what I found after the fact, as much of that as there was, it was also the experience. And I think that's the thing we're missing out on too, that we don't talk about, is the adventure. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Every
No,
day we
absolutely.
got up, whether you were S1 or you were, a badass, you didn't know what was going to happen that day. And you
Right.
might come in and be like, hey, we're going wherever, we're going to do this. There was always that feeling. And we're such planners now that, and with phones, there's no sense of adventure anymore. And so
No, right.
it's
Absolutely.
fun. It's fun to get to do these adventures, and the beauty of it is I'm getting to do stuff that helps me, emotionally, and helps me work on myself at the same time. But it's also a blast getting to, jump on a plane with my best friend, go get a cabin in Colorado, and do these kind of things.
No, absolutely. And that's the biggest
Uh,
thing. Like me, like myself, I was able to use some psilocybin this past weekend, and I told the guy that got it to me, it was Trey, the guy that I just had on the show. It was I had to ask him. I said, "What did you do to these? What did you do to this medicine?" Because for me, I was like, dude, this was so spiritual. Like, it was not like a normal trip where you get the lights and you get this and you get that. There was more a spiritual journey. Like, it was like, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What, and I was like, and I was up for hours just, and I was like, I was like, what was this, dude? He said the grower does amazing things. He said, I mean, the grower takes care of his medicine and he ensures that he puts good stuff into it. And
mhm.
he said, I said a couple of prayers to it as well before I gave it to you to ensure that it. And I was like, because I'm going through. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all go through a lot of crap, and right now in the household, it's been crazy right now. It's been a lot of different things, ups and downs, and a lot of different things going on. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I was up all night. Like I would lay down and I had to stand up, and I got up and I started praying. I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this? What is going on? Type stuff. But that's what a lot of people don't understand is that when you use the medicine like you're intended to use it, it will open your eyes. Like it will allow you to
Right,
become, it'll be like you're saying, like this journey that you've been on. It opens your eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh, like wow, that was a great trip, you know, or whatever
right.
however you want to look at it. But I mean, for that, it allows you to sit back and be like, huh, okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah, that was good. I like that. Because like
Yeah,
everything, like I tell everybody, I said, with cannabis, there's a lot to it, right? Cannabis isn't just let's smoke and get high. You know, it's about learning about the terpenes, the cannabinoids. Is there CBD in it? What kind of what is in the flower, and how can it help? How can it help with anxiety? How can it help with depression, pain, aches and pains that we deal with? How can it help with those things? And the same thing is with psilocybin. Psilocybin's the same way. All of it is different depending on how it's grown and what strain it is. It's going to provide you a different remedy for what you're dealing with. And you
yeah,
being in it, you doing it, right? So you recently just got back from a trip from Peru, right?
yeah, yeah. So that crazy adventure led to uh, led me to heading to Peru for a few weeks. So I was fortunate enough to hook up with a retreat. They were doing a men's retreat, and it was unusual because they did a section in the Amazon, and then they did a section actually in the Andes up in the mountains. So it was really
Oh, wow.
unusual to get to see. I mean, because the experience of being in Peru and being in the jungle is obviously very, very different than being in the mountains in the Andes.
Right.
Um, but we were there for about 12 days in the Amazon. We did ayahuasca um, 5 times
Five
over
times.
six five. I know it sounds crazy to say it aloud. Like
But they say
that's
that's an
the
amazing plant medicine, is from what I've been hearing from people who have used it. They're like, this is an amazing, like, eye
yeah
opener type medicine, right?
yeah it's I mean, it was powerful, and I really appreciated Tyler and Sylvie, who run the facility there, are amazing people. And I really like the way they did it because it's a traditional Shipibo ceremony. They do it at night. You know, the lights are off. They're singing what they call Icarus, their prayers. There's two shaman, a man and a woman, and it's a beautiful experience. But it's very look. Most people that are there because they have anxiety, right? I mean, they either
Right,
have
right, right.
anxiety or they have trauma. So to put somebody in that environment, it can be very unsettling, especially with you when you've given them something that they've been told is probably, you know, is certainly one of the most powerful medicines, plant medicines out there. So
And that's what I've heard.
they
Yes, that's what I've
intentionally, the
heard.
first night, yeah, it was a very mild ceremony. So we intentionally took a smaller dose than we did the remaining nights, just so you could get the experience. Okay, this is what it is. This is what that feeling's going to be. Okay, and you do go a little deep. I mean, it's not. It's hard not to, you know, to take a medicine like grandmother and not experience something. I mean,
Right,
and so,
right.
but over the next several nights, and we purged in there. So there was Cambo uh, in the morning, a couple of mornings. Um, but for me, my journey over the next 4 nights was like this beautiful story being told. And it was just this beautiful release. And after the first night, the shaman talked to us, and they talk in their traditional language, and then they translate to Spanish, and then it gets translated to English. So obviously, some of it gets lost. But he said you have a he said you have a lot of darkness. He said not evil, but you have a lot of darkness in you. And before we had gone, and my wife, bless her, uh, all the way to her home where she's from in Connecticut back to Texas, is the most amazing woman. And my journey and my push to go to Peru was really instigated by her. She knew that it was going to be powerful. She was the one that really said, I think you need to go um, and experience this. And so I had this moment of clarity a couple of months before I went that I didn't know what happy was anymore. Like I didn't understand. I have a successful business. I have a great wife. I have, you know, amazing kids. A couple of them are teenagers and they're still great kids. You know what I mean? Like they're,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, they're awesome. I have all these things. Why do I not feel happy? Why do I not bounce out of bed and like, heck yeah, let's go get this done, you know? Um, why do I not feel that? And that's where I made the connection of, well, because you turned all these other emotions off. Like, when was the last time you cried? You know, I didn't cry
Right.
when my mom died. And that's a horrible thing to say, and not certainly not something I'm proud of, but that's the truth. And it was because I didn't feel it. I just didn't
Right.
allow myself. It was easier just to say, okay, let's push on. And, you know, I got to go do this and I got to go do that.
Right, because
Um,
we're worried about what's going on in our life right now. Like, what are we
mhm.
dealing with? What are we dealing with? You know. So, what do you recommend to the audience that's listening into the story that you've been telling us? What would you tell them if they were considering starting using plant medicine? What would you tell them?
I'm a firm believer for me, and I can't speak to anybody else's journey, that if those things are starting to pop up on your radar, then there's a reason. You know what I mean? Like if there's the universe is putting it out there for a reason, and if you're a person that you're starting to hear it more, it's starting to pop up on your social media, you know, the way those things do, when the universe starts putting it out there, it's putting it out there for a reason. And for me, it was a couple of years. I mean, I ignored it for years before I finally said, okay. You know, and I just saw the benefits of what, you know, what the cannabis had done. And for me, it was a natural progression. And for me, you know, my wife, we have a very interesting dynamic because she has almost 26 years of sobriety. She's in AA. And so she doesn't partake in plant medicine. But one of the things she always says is, if you want what I want, do what I do. And I saw somebody like Elaine, who I thought was very okay with who he was, you know, very at peace with who he was. And I'm like, that's what I want. What are you doing? And when he said, man, I've been on this plant medicine journey. Well, shit, how do I sign me up for that? I want to take that trip.
And I'm in the same boat.
No
and
pun
I'm in the
intended.
same boat. Like I said, man, you guys watched my episode last week with Trey. He's an Army guy that's on a plant medicine journey, and he's incorporating me now with a lot of his veteran buddies that are doing this journey as well. And I was like, I gotta get Big Spoon on here because Big Spoon just got back from Peru on a big plant medicine journey, right? Because a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people are scared, right? Like anything else, people are scared because they don't know. Right. They don't know, and it scares them, right? And one of the biggest things that I tell people, I mean, I'm always preaching on my shows that you have to educate yourself. You have to have an understanding as to why Sergeant G is always advocating for federal legalization of cannabis. Why is he always advocating for medical freedom, right? Because it's like I tell people, if you are diabetic and you take insulin, that's like me telling you, if you're traveling somewhere, if you're traveling out of state and they say, nope, you can't take it. What's that going to do for you? That's going to mean you got to stay homebound, right? You got to stay homebound because you can't take it across straight lines, right? And that's one of the biggest things. Like the Veteran Action Council, it's a massive community of veterans fighting for federal legalization of both psilocybin and cannabis, right? Because I should be able to cross any state line and take my medicine with me, you know. And it's a struggle. Like you in Texas, right? You in Texas right now. David Bass is doing a big movement in Texas right now for the veteran community for legalization, right? Right now, I think you're only able to do what was it, edibles? I believe right now, is that what? Is what
edibles and everything I've heard is they're pretty overpriced compared to what you get on any other market.
And I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all, right? I mean, I don't doubt it at all. And luckily, you're not that far from Oklahoma. Oklahoma will actually give you a cannabis card if you're from out of state. They will give you like a 90-day cannabis card that you can use in the state of Oklahoma. You know, and
really?
So,
yeah.
And so that's one of the biggest.
Well, it makes it hard, and I think the problem I have is it puts it in a situation where we can't treat it like a medicine. Like, you know, if my wife has rheumatoid arthritis, she should be able to go to a doctor, a real doctor that can say, okay, these are the 3 strains that I'm going to prescribe for you based on your symptoms. Try these 3. Let me know how it goes. Oh, hey, this one works better in the morning. This one works better here. I think the misconception is, you know, people that haven't tried cannabis in the last 10 years, and I was this way before I returned to it, they think that I'm going to smoke it, I'm going to lay on the couch with a bag of Oreos laying on my stomach, and I'm going to watch Ren and Stimpy all day. Yeah. And that's not the case.
That's the big stigma. That's the big stigma I'm trying to break too as well. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell people. I said I got Chris Myers down in Florida who is a fitness model. And he'll tell you straight up, he said, I got to smoke before I go and lift weights. He's a fitness model. This guy's fit as can be. He's part of the 5% club. And he'll tell you, he said, I got to smoke before I go and lift. I got to smoke when I get done lifting so that I don't deal with the pain, the aches and pains of being sore, right? And that's what I tell people. I said, for me, when I was able to smoke, I stay high all day long. I ensure that I stay high all day long But I'm not high, laying on the couch, eating a bag of Cheetos, watching freaking Ren and
Hmm.
Stimpy all day, just vegging out. I am functioning. I am able to go out and do what needs to be done because I'm able to focus on my job. I'm able to get
Right.
the task done because I can focus because I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm not thinking about these bills that need to be paid. I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking about that. I can focus on what's in front of me and ensuring that the job gets done that's in front of me, you know? That's why I tell people you have
Hmm.
to understand that you have to know what strains you're smoking. There are so many different strains out there right now and over 80 different cannabinoids in the plants. And you have to understand,
Right.
okay, if this is indica dominant, it's probably going to make you sleepy. If this is sativa dominant, it's probably going to make your anxiety go through the roof. If this is a hybrid, which side is it leaning on? What kind of terpenes does the plant have? What kind of cannabinoids does the plant have? How can it help me with my day? Like, what can I do throughout the day if I smoke this, right? And that's the biggest thing, you
Right.
know. And with the way the government's doing it, I just got an episode coming out on Veteran Trash Talk in Louisiana. They have 9 dispensaries and 2 growers that only grow 2 strains of cannabis, and I'm like, what the hell is that? They only grow 2 strains, nine
That's just
dispensaries.
ignorance.
That,
They
it's
just,
just the
they're
government
ignorant. They
having their
just
hand in
don't
the
know.
pot, saying, "Okay, you can have it, but you can only have this much of it." You know, which is ridiculous. You know, and so this is one of the biggest things
Yep.
that I tell you guys about, that you have to get out there. You have to advocate in your state wherever you live. I guarantee you, there's more than just you in your state fighting for this. Get it on a
Yep.
ballot. Make the state vote for it. Make it happen because, like I said, if I go to your state and it's illegal for me to have my medicine, I'm gonna be highly upset. You know, I'm gonna be highly upset
Yeah.
that I can't take my own medicine with me, man. You know.
We were in Florida 2 weeks ago and I couldn't take mine with me. And it was not fun. I mean, it just completely, I tell people all the time, for me, it just slows my mind down. You know what I
Right.
mean? It
Yeah.
just slows it down enough to where I can function, what I expect most other people are operating at.
Right. It's so
Otherwise,
you can open your mind up and be able to focus on what's in front of
mhm,
you and not worrying about everything else
yeah,
around you. You know, and that's
yeah.
the biggest thing I try to tell people, man. Well, Big Spoon, we get close to the end of the show, man.
Yeah.
How do you want to end it out? How do you want to tell these people about your journey and the plant, how plant medicine has
Uh,
helped you get to where you're at, brother?
yeah. I mean, I would say if it's calling to you or you're interested, explore it. I mean, there's lots of options out there. And I mean, we've only really talked about two, ayahuasca, and psilocybin, but we left the jungle and then we went to Cusco and did San Pedro several times, grandfather. So, I mean, there's lots of medicines out there
Right.
and you
No,
really
absolutely.
just need to start experiencing, and finding out what fits in with you. But no matter if you lean to plant medicines or not, the biggest piece of this is your mental health and finding people and finding folks that you connect with, no matter who they are, so you can start having conversations. So you can start talking about your mental health, your mental well-being, and talk about those things that really impact you through your day. I'm always around. I'm on Instagram, the Mindful Marine underscores. You can't miss it. My logo looks just like me. I will be hosting. I will be facilitating. I should say host. I will be helping facilitate another men's retreat. We'll be doing the same kind of itinerary or similar, where we go from the Amazon to Peru. And dude, you talk about an adventure. We didn't even get to. It removed all my anxiety. I don't have any travel anxiety anymore. It removed all
Wow.
my. You talk about me being calm. That's why, brother. I mean, it
That's
it it took
awesome.
away all that. So I'll have to
That's
come on and
awesome.
we'll dive into it some more. But
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
brother. Absolutely. We'll dive into it. We'll get more into it and understanding it. That's my biggest thing is I want to be able to bring other like-minded veterans, right? We you can see them like Jocko and all these people, right? These guys are all famous and all this crap, but how relatable are they with us? Just normal
right,
people that go to work
right,
every day, that earn a paycheck to pay the bills every day, right? This is what my audience
right,
loves to see, is that they can relate because they're like, man, he's just like me. He's got his own business. He's doing his own thing. He's trying to figure it out, right? We're all trying to figure it out. And so that's why I love bringing on guests, the other brothers and sisters that are doing this, man. And This is why I do this for you guys, so you guys can feel as though, hey, there is somebody out there that's like me, that's wanting to try. I want to try this, but I don't know who to reach out to. I don't know how to get out to it. I don't know how to educate myself on it. I don't know how to start this journey, right? Everything's a journey. We all learning. We're all learning. I mean, Big Spoon's been doing, he said, I've been doing it for 1.5 years, and he's still learning. He's still figuring it out. He just got back from Peru and was like, oh my gosh, plant medicine has been around for centuries. What do you think the Egyptians used when people got sick? Plant medicine. They didn't have pharmaceuticals. They didn't have doctors to go to prescribe them a pill. Everybody used plant medicine at that time, right? And this is what we're trying to bring back, is plant medicine again, to help us get off the pharmaceuticals that the doctors continue giving us and prescribing us, right? Like I tell you guys, every time we're shooting one of these shows, we're losing a brother or sister. Why? Content ain't getting shared, right? They're taking their own life either to opioid addiction or just because they became a 22, one of the 22 a day that we lose. And every time I shoot this show, we're losing one of them, right? So we're averaging about 57 brothers and sisters we lose every day. We're trying to eliminate that number. We're trying to minimize it as much as we can, is what we're trying to do, man. Big Spoon, I appreciate you hanging out with me, enjoying this episode, brother. Able to shoot this episode. I'm so excited. I was able to bring on another jarhead. That's another advocate, like the Stone Vet. You know what I'm saying? Being able to do this, man. Like I tell you guys in the audience, you guys are very important, man. Nobody else in this country, in this world, can do what you do. You're the only one that can do it, and nobody can do it the way that you can. Just remember that and continue remembering that you are the one and only guy that can do it. You are needed here. Don't become another checkbox in the government's wonderful spreadsheet saying, oh, we lost another one, right? That's 22, right? Don't become that number, right? Do better than that. If you're needing help, reach out to me, Big Spoon. I'll have all his information in the description below. Reach out to him. Say, hey, brother, I liked your vibe, dude. Can we get to know each other? Can we become friends? It's what it's about, is growing our community. Like I tell you guys, you have to grow your community wherever you're at. Grow it, because the bigger your community is, the better and stronger everybody will be around you, right? They will see that light and they will see your presence, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, enjoying this time together with Big Spoon, the Mindful Marine. Like I said, I have all his information in the description below, man. Remember, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share this content. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're at, leave me a 5-star review so I can hit that freaking algorithm so this can get out there to much more veterans trying to figure out who is in my community that loves cannabis like me, you know? Appreciate it, Big Spoon, man. Remember, guys, here at the Stone Vet, we got you 6.
Peace.
Situations, I stay alert for my enemies trying to do me some harm. I fight for your freedom of speech and your right to bear arms. When I say I got your 6, that means I got your back. But what else would you expect coming from the Stone Vet? 1, 2, 3